How's it going?
All right. Hopefully you remember who I am. I'm Rob from Houston, Texas.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. How's it going, Rob?
All right, good. I got Jessie on the other line from CineDump as well. I'm doing the interview through the B-Movie Film Vault. Jessie, do you want to start off with the questions, or do you want me to kick it off? Or
Yeah. Go for it, man.
All right, man. So, Steve, the big question is, I haven't seen any of these on. Well, one thing is, the movie came out Friday. It's Monday morning now. What's been the response and everything that's been going on, especially, everything that I've been seeing is extremely positive. And hopefully that's something big for you guys, especially for yourself. And then, I know it's not Act on 6, but, helping those guys as well moving forward, hopefully with other films.
Yeah, I mean, the response has been overwhelmingly positive. Like a lot of great reviews. I'm just happy people get the movie. It's, when I was making it, I thought I was making something pretty specific. It kind of felt like I was making a movie just for myself. So it's nice that I feel like there's kind of an experience we can all share of it being a very video store inspired movie. It really came from my experiences growing up as a kid watching movies that were maybe a little too intense for somebody my age at the time. And so we've all had those traumas of watching R-rated movies, genre movies, as a kid, and being a little scarred by them. So I wanted PG to kind of summarize that experience a little bit by being a very fun, crazy sci-fi fantasy spectacle movie, but also having some gruesome horror moments at the same time. And so it's equal parts shocking and fun.
Totally, and I got that, man. I got that from it. It felt the same way. It felt like something that my mom would rent me at the Pop and Mom video store. Like Ghoulies or something that, we weren't supposed to watch, but we still watched it because it had some type of, I guess, childlike qualities to it, or family fare, but it wasn't really family.
Totally.
I posted on my page, I had my neighbors come over. I was babysitting. It was my wife's birthday this weekend, and I had their kids watch it. And I was like, screw it, man, you can watch it with me, and they loved it. They actually thought it was hilarious. They loved Mimi's character. They loved Psycho Goreman's line and his wit throughout the movie. So it's hitting those key spots for everybody. And from us being growing up in that genre, and now these younger kids are actually digging it too. So it's pretty neat.
I'm honestly really surprised at how many responses I've gotten of people being like, yeah, I watched with my kids and they loved it. I was not expecting that. So it's great to hear. I hope that of all these kids that are experiencing this movie, some of them want to grow up to make monsters in movies. Because if that happens, I'll feel like I've done my job.
I want to jump in real quick. While I'm going to play a little bit of bad cop, I guess you could say. While most of what I've been seeing and reading is definitely positive, the one thing that I've been encountering is that the audience sometimes they're a little confused as to who they're supposed to root for. So I was curious, I wanted you to kind of answer the ultimate question. Are we supposed to root for Psycho Goreman? Are we supposed to root for Mimi? What do you got for that one?
I feel like Mimi and PG are different sides of the same coin. The whole point is that I want to draw parallels between the two of them and make people realize that they're essentially deep down the same thing, just in a different shell. Whereas PG is the evil overlord of the galaxy, Mimi is the evil overlord of Spengler Springs, Manitoba. I wanted people to see the good and bad in both characters, and I would say want to ultimately root for both of them in their own way, because they both sort of find their purpose throughout the movie and find their place. And yeah, they're both flawed characters, but that's what an interesting character is to me. I'm not interested in pristine protagonists. I like kind of messed up, troubled people as heroes, because you want to see them kind of like find their way out of that. And maybe PG and Mimi don't necessarily like get completely out of the woods in terms of like how crazy they are, but I feel like they find some satisfaction by the end of the movie, and we're supposed to feel good about that. So yeah, I mean, if it's a question of like who do you root for, to me it's like pretty obvious. It's Mimi and PG.
See, yeah, that's what I thought ultimately, but I just, as far as negative feedback, that was the one thing that I kept seeing, and so when this opportunity arose, I had to take it.
Yeah, it's understandable. I mean, this movie, I feel like I made it basically for myself. So the idea of people being confused by it does not shock me at all, because I did not go into this with any intention of following traditional narratives or traditional character types, even though there is a lot of satire that's like rooted in, I guess, cliche in this movie that I love, like kind of taking very tropey things and turning them on their heads. And so, yeah, I mean, it's understandable. People can think what they want about it, and I'm cool with that.
And one more before I give it back to Rob. He mentioned Ghoulies. I've seen everything from Hellraiser to Power Rangers. I'm just kind of curious, once a product is complete, and you start getting feedback like that, as far as like, maybe it isn't exactly what you're going for, or hey, yeah, that is exactly what I was going for, and those were the things that I grew up watching. How do you feel about that? Like, you personally, Hellraiser meets Power Rangers, like what does that do for you?
Like, you mean, what does it do for me when other people make those comparisons?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's like kind of a movie shorthand that's been around forever. Like, I think people like always default to that, for better or for worse. I like certainly some comparisons, but some of them not as much. But I think like once you make a movie and put it out into the world, like it stops being yours at a certain point. So if people want to compare it to whatever, like that's that's their right to do so as an audience member. It's not really for me to tell them like how the movie made them feel and what it seemed to be inspired by for them, or what kind of memories it brought up for them. Like, to me, it's just interesting to see kind of like how people interpret it and what they get out of it. And I'm finding like it is a lot of like common experiences. Like yeah, Power Rangers comes up a lot, and that's definitely something that I was influenced by for this movie. So I think a lot of it is pretty consistent across the board, and anytime there's like a weird offbeat one, it's interesting. But yeah, no, I think it's just part of the fun of a release of a movie is seeing how people interpret it.
Thank you.
Well, before I get to my like actual question, going back on like the Power Rangers and Hellraiser, the band of Psycho Goreman's group that comes into play midway through the movie. One of the characters actually kind of reminded me of Neon Maniac. Is that something that should have reminded me of that, or is that just I'm just?
I mean, honestly, like I don't know specifically which character you're referring to, because I don't even remember all the Neon Maniacs and what they look like. But I like that comparison, because Neon Maniacs is definitely something like that cover, and just that movie is like burned in my brain just as like a staple of the video store.
Right.
And so maybe subconsciously I was influenced by Neon Maniacs. I didn't even realize it. That's entirely possible. It's definitely happened a lot on this movie where I've like looked at a design after the fact and been like, oh, like that's, now I'm kind of feeling where I got that from. I just didn't realize it at the time.
Okay.
Because like so much of my brain is occupied by this kind of stuff that sometimes those stuff is buried real deep, finds its way into my sculpts without me even realizing. So it's entirely possible that it was influenced by Neon Maniacs, and I didn't even realize it.
Because I don't know, I was watching, I was like, dude, that one character kept having dialogue with PG I was like, dude, he reminds me of the I think the Birdman from Neon Maniac. So I was like, dude,
okay.
It's reminding me of Neon Maniac. I don't know why. Maybe he did it just to be a nod to it or something. That's why I wanted to ask you that question. But the main thing is, and always, it's what was the budget on PG? Because it always shocks me how much you put on the screen with so little. You know, following your career and the money. You know, I think Father's Day was about $7,000. I think Manboard was less than $1 million. I think, or less than, was it $1 million or less?
Manboard was pocket change. Manboard was like $1,000.
Oh, okay.
If that. I don't have a confident number, but PG, it was around 850,000 Canadian. So
okay.
It was well under $1 million.
And
so it was just a lot of like, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry to cut you off. So I'm guessing the Leprechaun would have been the most expensive film you've done.
Yes, bafflingly so. That was the most expensive movie I've made to date. It was, I believe, like $2.4 million or something for that.
Okay.
So yeah, and yet PG has like I feel like 20 times as much stuff as that movie. So
well, I mean,
that just goes to show you, like, when you're making movies on your own terms, like your way, like you can stretch those dollars a lot further when you're not tied into kind of like a studio or a network system, and you're just doing it the indie movie way. You can get a lot more out of your buck.
Well, I wasn't going to talk negative about Leprechaun because I actually liked it. I thought it was probably one of the better sequels out of the series, believe it or not.
Thank you.
And I thought it was great casting who you picked to play the Leprechaun. I thought he did great compared to Origins and all this other stuff that they tried doing. I thought it was an enjoyable movie, and I loved it, believe it or not.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I certainly I like that movie. I appreciate what I was able to pull off, considering it's like, the 8th movie in that franchise. And it was a great learning experience, and I would 100% do it again. But at the same time, I also totally respect that Leprechaun is not for everybody. So when people tell me it wasn't their cup of tea, I don't begrudge them for it. It's a pretty specific subgenre of horror that speaks to a certain crowd, and that's totally fine.
Want to go ahead, Jesse? You want me to ask another one? Or?
Sure. Yeah, I got another one. And this is kind of an obvious question, but I am kind of curious as to how did COVID affect this film? I know maybe the release got pushed a little bit, but was there any other issues as far as getting this out there?
Like, the movie was finished and in the can before COVID hit. It was supposed to have its world premiere, South by Southwest, March 13th, 2020, and that was basically the day everything fell apart. So yeah, basically just had to be shut for a bit, which sucks because it would have been nice to have a nice festival run, which we still managed to have. We still managed to play a bunch of festivals around the world, and played Beyond Fest in LA and went over really well. It was going to have an October Halloween release initially, but then we just kept pushing it because COVID didn't get any better. So we settled on January, and we're like, we just got to commit to this because otherwise this movie's never going to come out, right? So, it sucks that it's coming out now, and I can't be in movie theaters watching it with people. I'd love to be enjoying this with a crowd, and I can't. But at the same time, it's weirdly fitting because, just based on the response over the weekend, the way people are watching it, and watching it with their kids and stuff, it's sort of bringing back the video store vibe that I'm going for anyway. So it's kind of worked out in that it's this is actually kind of the ideal time and scenario for the movie. So, all things considered, I think it's going pretty well, despite the fact that COVID definitely threw a wrench into things initially. But we're in a pretty good spot now, and I'm definitely happy with how the release is going. The response has been great.
Hey, one thing, is Jeremy in the movie at all, or your brother Mike? Because I know you like to hide those guys in there.
Jeremy's not in it, but Mike does a voice for one of the characters. He does some goblins at one point. Yeah.
All right, cool. Just wondering. I know you put your brother in your film, so I was just wondering.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's in there in a little bit.
All right, cool.
All right,
thanks a lot.
Good talking to you guys.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.